friends, and welcome to episode 6 of the Bonfire. In this episode, I will be discussing the origins and the lore of the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant. For this episode, I'm going to be drawing from both Dark Souls 1 and 3, and while I know that there's some debate over the continuity between games, I'm approaching this with the mindset that both of these games take place along the same timeline and within the same world. But without further ado, let's get into the lore of the Warriors of Sunlight. To tell the story of this covenant, we must first begin by talking about Gwyn, who, throughout the series, represents the struggle between light and dark. And without his actions during the Age of Ancients, the entire world of Dark Souls as we know it would never have come to be. At his hand, the Age of Ancients transitioned into the Age of Fire, with him ruling over Lordran. And during this new Age of Fire, Gwyn went on to have 4 children, with a woman whose identity is never revealed. Of these 4 children, one fell out of favor with his father and was exiled, this being his firstborn. His other children, Guinevere, Gwendolyn, and Filianor, are all easily traced back to their father, with the only mystery being the identity of their mother. The identity of Gwyn's firstborn, however, is only hinted at throughout the game, and has been the subject of much discourse within the lore community. Before the release of Dark Souls 3, there was a prominent theory that this mystery child was actually Solaire of Astora, the kind-hearted knight searching for a son of his own. This theory, though disproven by Dark Souls 3, was based on some pretty compelling evidence for the time, with one of the biggest pieces being a statue found near a sunlight altar. The statue depicts a woman holding a baby, and held within the baby's tiny hands is a sword. This weapon was believed to be the Sunlight Straightsword, the same sword that Solaire uses. Solaire also uses the same lightning spear attacks as Gwyn, leading many to believe that this power was passed down to him by his father. Additionally, Solaire's dialogue and overall goal was seen as an indication of a familial relation between the two. Solaire is seeking his own son, and uses the words magnificent father to describe it. And while this could be interpreted as metaphor, at the time it was taken more literally, with this father being believed to be talking about Gwyn. And at the time, the only solid information known about this mysterious child came from the description of the Ring of the Sun's Firstborn, which reads, Lord Gwyn's firstborn was a god of war, but his foolishness led to a loss of the annals and rescinding of his deific status. And Solaire does have a piece of dialogue that seems to be connected to this.
But when I peer at the sun up above, it occurs to me, what if I am seen as a laughingstock, as a blind fool without reason? Well, I suppose they wouldn't be far off.
So, to sum up the theory, we had a statue which was likely depicting the mother of Gwyn's children holding a baby who was holding a sword that was believed to be the same sword that Solaire uses. Solaire and Gwyn use the same lightning attack. Gwyn is known as the father of sunlight, and Solaire compares the sunlight to a father. And to top it all off, Solaire seems overly conscious of ridicule or making a fool of himself, something that would make sense for a person that was cast out of the family at a young age for some unknown transgression. Basically, there was little else to go on, and at the time, Solaire seemed to be the most likely candidate for Gwyn's mystery child. At least, that was until the release of Dark Souls 3. Enter the Nameless King, the true answer to the mystery of Gwyn's forsaken son. When looking at his other 3 children, it's evident that they were each brought into the world to fulfill a unique role within his new age. Guinevere, the Princess of Sunlight, was brought into the world to be loved by the people of Lordran, and to serve as a symbol of hope within this new age of fire. Dark Sun Gwendolyn was brought into the world to serve as the king's justice and maintain order within the kingdom. He was also a master of illusion, and was able to hide the departure of his sister Guinevere from the people of Lordran. His youngest child, Philionor, is probably the most obvious example of this, as she was literally given as a gift to the Pygmies in exchange for their help during the war against the everlasting dragons. Each of Gwyn's children were brought into the world to strategically serve him in some way, and his firstborn is no exception. This firstborn son was intended to be a god of war, who would give Gwyn the advantage that he needed to finally exterminate the everlasting dragons and bring the war to an end. This child inherited Gwyn's immense power, arming himself in an unbreakable dragon hide and using the same lightning attacks as his father. He fought in Gwyn's war and was a renowned slayer of dragons. But if he was such a powerful ally, what led to him being cast out by his father and erased from his family history? Well, I believe that at some point the Nameless King grew tired of the indiscriminate killing, believing that there could be value in a world inhabited by not only men and gods, but also dragons. And so, he began working with the dragons, allying himself with his father's sworn enemy. Some theorize that his betrayal was due to his fathering of Priscilla, the half-breed dragon, and his fear that Gwyn would call for her execution. But I find it more likely that his betrayal stemmed from ideological differences between the Lord of Sunlight and the God of War. I think that the Nameless King was tired of the bloodshed, the senseless killing in the name of his father's new age. He likely realized that the fight was pointless, and that the dragons would just continue to adapt to whatever was thrown at them. So, he betrayed his father, forging an alliance with the dragons and fighting alongside them. As a result, he was cast out of the family, with even his name being erased from history. He was not alone though, as those that shared in his desire for an age of both sunlight and dragons began to gather around him. And so was born the Warriors of Sunlight, a covenant based on the principles of cooperation and integrity, both in gameplay mechanics and in lore. When playing the game as a Warrior of Sunlight, the player is rewarded with sunlight medals when they assist the host player in defeating a boss. Within the lore, they represent those that refuse to kill the dragons for the crime of merely existing, and instead chose to work with them, exchanging knowledge and traditions. Throughout the game, we stumble upon decimated sunlight altars, likely left in this condition at the behest of Gwyn and those that still loyally follow his teachings. Within this rubble, however, we can make out a spear that's nearly identical to the one wielded by the Nameless King. This spear was initially crafted for the purpose of killing dragons, a symbol for a pure age of fire that would be free from them. And further looking into the Nameless King's armor, his golden crown includes the following in its description: crown of a Nameless King who was allied to the ancient dragons. This golden crown, buried amidst long strands of bristling ash, is said to closely resemble that of the First Lord. While the exact timeline of the Nameless King's betrayal and the formation of the Warriors of Sunlight is unknown, we can understand them as a group that is willing to sacrifice anything in the pursuit of what they believe is right. And luckily, what they deem to be right is the support of those in need. But this still leaves two questions, one of them being, why does the Nameless King still attack you if you have the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant equipped? And I think that there are two possible answers to this question. On one hand, the Nameless King himself might have gone hollow. If we take a close look at the upper half of his face not hidden by his cloak, his eyes do look similar to those that have hollowed. They're dark, with the skin around them leathery and corpse-like. We don't really know how long the Nameless King has been here, and how long it's been since anyone's actually encountered him in the flesh. It's possible that his legacy has continued on in the form of his covenant, but that his decades of living with his betrayal have eaten away at him, driving him to hollow. He might not even recognize you as a Warrior of Sunlight when you approach him, likely no longer in control of his body and actions. But on the other hand, maybe it isn't the hollowing that leads him to attack you. Maybe he recognizes you as an unkindled, and associates you with his father's goal of destroying the dragons in the name of an age of fire. Regardless of what you, the player, actually want to do at endgame, those that encounter you assume that you want to rekindle the fire and save the world from an age of dark. This could also possibly tie back into the theory of Priscilla the half-breed being his daughter, as he would understandably still be wary of those who may wish to do her harm. It doesn't matter to him that you've pledged yourself to his covenant, and he might even see this as a ruse to get him to let his guard down. But unfortunately, the true answer to this is likely nothing more than gameplay mechanics, as it wouldn't be a very exhilarating encounter if we just sat down and talked with him. And now on to the final question. If Solaire isn't the firstborn son of Gwyn, then who is he? Well, I think that the answer to that is actually quite simple. He's nothing more than a man that embodies everything that a warrior of sunlight should be. He praises the magnificence of the sun, for without it, the world as he knows it wouldn't exist. And while the world that he inhabits is cruel and unforgiving, he chooses not to be. He believes in helping others and in remaining positive, always looking towards the sun instead of the dark. He may not be the mysterious son of Gwyn or the creator of the Covenant, but he doesn't need to be. He dedicated his life to finding his own sun and helping others along the way. He really is just a simple knight, a true warrior of sunlight. And that's going to do it for the Warriors of Sunlight episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it. This episode was a little different. I talked about not just Dark Souls 3, but also Dark Souls 1. And I gave you guys a little lore history lesson about the old, very prominent theory that Solaire was actually the son of Gwyn. This was also definitely not a very focused video on just specifically the Warriors of Sunlight, but I don't really think that you can understand them as a covenant without first understanding the era in which they came to be. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Did you like how I talked about Dark Souls 1, or would you really just prefer it to be kept to Dark Souls 3? Because I know that people get kind of crazy about saying that Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 take place in different timelines and blah blah blah, a bunch of different shit. I don't know. I think that when we're trying to understand lore like this that spans multiple games, it's really just easier to imagine that both of these games, or I should say all three of these games, take place along the same timeline. But please feel free to explain why I'm wrong in the comments. I really do enjoy reading what you guys have to say about these videos. And on that note, we're almost to 100 subs. Thank you guys so much. That's kind of crazy. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like and comment these videos or even just watches them. It really means the world. And that's about it from me. So, as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, don't go hollow.